All right, so we got this story that dropped on August 2nd. A little bit of a bombshellington for you. First on CNN, January 6th text messages wiped from phones of key Trump Pentagon officials. Okay. The Defense Department wiped the phones of top departing Department of Defense and Army officials at the end of the Trump administration, deleting any texts from key witnesses to events surrounding the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, according to court filings. The acknowledgement that the phones from the Pentagon officials had been wiped was first revealed in a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit American Oversight brought against the Defense Department, and the Army. The watchdog group is seeking January 6th records from, former Acting Secretary of Defense Chris Miller, former Chief of Staff Kash Patel, and former Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy, among other prominent Pentagon officials, having filed initial FOAI, Freedom of Information Act, requests just a few days after the Capitol attack. Miller, Patel, and McCarthy have all been viewed as crucial witnesses for understanding government's response to the January 6th Capitol assault and former President Donald Trump's reaction to the breach. All three were involved in the Defense Department's response to sending National Guard troops to the U.S. Capitol as the riot was unfolding. There is no suggestion that the officials themselves erased the records. The government's assertion in the filings that the officials' text messages from that day were not preserved is the latest blow to the efforts to bring transparency to the events of January 6th. It comes as the Department of Homeland Security is also under fire for the apparent loss of messages from the Secret Service that day. We've talked about that before. Miller declined to comment. Patel and McCarthy did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The U.S. Army Public Affairs Media Relations Chief, Colonel Kathy Wilkinson, said in a statement that it is our policy not to comment on ongoing litigation. Paul Ney, former general counsel for the Department of Defense, told CNN that Tuesday's revelation is the first I've heard about Department of Defense litigation in which there is any issue with the cell phone I turned in when I left Department of Defense on January 20th, 2021. I did not wipe the phone before I turned it in, or ever that I can recall. That's suspicious. Ney continued, when I turned the phone in, I did not know what was going to be done with that device, nor do I know what actually was done with that device after I turned it in. If the Department of Defense represented in litigation that the device was wiped after I left the Department of Defense on Inauguration Day, I believe that is very likely what happened and when it happened, but I do not know why. American Oversight is now calling for a cross-agency investigation by the Justice Department to investigate destruction of the materials. So, look, I don't know what standard operating procedure is with this, but my guess would be that it's the opposite of what happened. In fact, the very next line here says, it's just astounding to believe that the agency did not understand the importance of preserving its records, particularly with regards to the top officials that might have captured what they were doing, when they were doing it, why they were doing it on that day. Wow. So, look, is it the specific officials in question that wiped their phones? They say no, but some of the wording is sketchy, so maybe. Is it, they turned it over and there's some Trump loyalist who then turned around and wiped their phones? That's possible too. But look, the other thing that's confusing about this is, my understanding was that even if you delete messages, they're not really deleted. And you would think the NSA would have the ability to we can figure out what was in those messages, which then leads to questions about, well, is the person in charge of the NSA some sort of, Trump loyalist or whatever? I don't know the answer to any of these questions, but what I do know is this is incredibly suspicious. It's possible that the people at the Department of Defense at the time were Trump loyalists, and so they literally sat there and watched the attempted insurrection happen and gave it a lot of time to breathe before, they couldn't wait anymore. And, over an hour or whatever it was, that they just kind of let it happen. And then they had to, under pressure from Mike Pence and some others, that, no, you got to put this to a stop. That's possible. I'm sure there's something that's being hidden here. Same with the Secret Service stuff. I'm sure there's some damning information in there that really would shine a light on Trump's actions at the time, who in positions in the military were sort of backing Trump, either aggressively or passively. It's a huge loss if we don't get this information. And the fact that we don't have this information is suspicious enough on its own. Because if something's happening like what happened on January 6th, you bet your ass cheeks you're going to have some wild messages between, the Capitol Police, the DC Police, Secret Service, National Guard, the Pentagon. Like, you're going to have Department of Homeland Security. There's going to be people, I'm sure it was chaos. I'm sure there were people with all sorts of different opinions, and I'm sure some people, maybe in the process of watching it unfold, were saying things that were facilitating crime and criminals, or doing other questionable things that would be relevant for the American people to know. So between the Secret Service wiping their phones, these officials wiping their phones or having them wiped by somebody else, super sketchy. It really just shows how, this veneer of civilization in many respects is so thin. I mean, this could have went a different way. If Trump had picked Mike Flynn to be his VP in 2016, we would have had one of the worst constitutional crises in our history, because Mike Flynn would have tried to reject the conclusion of the election. He would have did the thing that Mike Pence found one shred of dignity not to do. And Lord only knows what would have happened. So, not good. Look, I hope they can find this stuff. I think they can, right? 'Cause I've heard many times, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, all the techies out there, but when you actually delete messages, they're not really deleted. There's still a record somewhere. So, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see, but either way, super questionable. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.